All right, awesome. It's recording now. Welcome everybody. Today is the December 18th community member meetup. Sorry, my brain is slightly fried today. Yeah, today's the December 18th meeting. We're going to be going over some of the stuff that's been going on in the Maker universe last week. Every week we go through things like real life events, technical milestones, community highlights, new hires, and we usually have some time for like 3-4 questions and stuff of that nature. But I'm gonna start the meeting off with just a few of the really awesome highlights. So Dai turned 1 yesterday, I believe. Yesterday or today. But Dai is officially 1 year old. It's an infant. You know, I remember when my little sister became 1 year old, I was like so excited for her, but feels like Dai is seems to work on a different time scale. 1 year old for Dai feels like 10 years old. But a lot of really cool stuff happened this year. We deployed on December 17th, so yesterday, yesterday of last year. So ETH was 720 USD when we launched, and since then it peaked at 1420. And then it dropped down to about $80, which is a 94% drop. And Dai remained stable throughout the whole thing. So it's an awesome thing to celebrate this year. That's that's what I'm going to be celebrating. So our all-time high of supply was 76.8 million Dai, and to date we've locked 1.6 million ETH, which is about 1.5% of the total supply. And we have a nice 389 MKR in the burner. So that's really, really cool. Decent stats for a single year. I was trying to get the stats for all the Dai issued to date and all the Dai wiped to date, but unfortunately those stats are not available to me at the moment, but perhaps I will mention them on another call because those stats are awesome. I think last time I had those stats, it was like 180 Dai minted, 180 million Dai minted, and then something like 100 million, like 80 million wiped. So there's like a lot of throughput through the system, even though the total current supply is anywhere between 50 and 70 million. So moving on, we have this week a vote in vote.makerdao.com. Our voting UI, it's to decrease the stability fee. So the risk team has identified that Dai has been trading slightly over the peg pretty consistently, and they also have heard from some of the major market makers on Dai pairs that the inventories are very low on Dai. So we are proposing a decrease in the stability fee, and it's going to be, I think it'll be passed. I think there's about 45,000 maker in the proposal for the decrease, and there's 70,000 maker in the proposal, in the last proposal, which represents the current state of the system. So to give you guys just a little explanation, so the way that executive voting works, it's something called continuous approval voting. So anytime that there is a proposal, maker holders should be leaving their maker in that proposal because it sort of represents the current status quo of the system. And so whenever a new proposal comes along, it actually has to have more maker in the new proposal than the old proposal for it to actually pass through. And I don't know if it's implemented now, but I think that in multi-collateral Dai, there's going to be like a 24-hour sort of security period where once the new proposal beats out the old proposal, it's going to take 24 hours of consistent, like it has to consistently be over the threshold for 24 hours before it actually gets passed and the system state gets updated. But that's what's going on now, which is really exciting. I think it's like the 3rd or 4th vote now, but it's really the second one that people in the community that don't have CLI like skills that can actually vote through our UI, which is really cool. So if you haven't voted yet and you're a maker holder, definitely come through. Also, well, actually maybe I shouldn't spring too many surprises on you guys, but there's some really cool stuff that's going to be going on in the future of voting at MakerDAO. So besides this, Stephen Becker, our head of risk and COO, put out the part 3 of his governance risk framework. It is quite a heavy read, but if you are into governance at MakerDAO, highly suggest it. It's very It's a very foundational doc, and definitely worth the read or two. We are also having our Happy Holidays promotion. So you could use your die this holiday for a chance to win some swag. It's like a little MakerDAO care package. And I think that the rules are in the blog post. I guess I'll just post that link. But yeah, here, I'll grab that real quick. Yeah, definitely spend your die, send somebody, have somebody open a CDP, whatever. Maybe you'll win a T-shirt, or I don't know what's in the care package. Do you know, Jess? Do you have any idea what's in the care package?
Yeah, we don't want to ruin the surprise, but
Oh, it's a surprise. Okay. No, never mind. It's probably a couple shirts, maybe like a couple physical die. I know I would be happy with a couple physical die, but yes, that's what's going on. So happy holidays, all that. Also today, literally 20 minutes before this meeting launched, the Oasis guys launched a new Oasis.direct update. So there are several improvements and features on it. I'll link you guys to that also in the chat. I think that it's now compatible with what is it, Nano or Ledger Live. I only skimmed through the announcement. I did not have time to read it yet, but Oasis guys are constantly putting stuff out. And I think they named it the Simpson update. Not sure why. If maybe maybe Nikolai or somebody might have some insight into the naming of that, because I'm very curious about it. And then lastly, for the stuff that's happening internally and all the announcements and stuff, Ashley was on Bloomberg Live for a panel called Stablecoins Volatility Cure All. That's up on Reddit. If you guys want to watch it, she did pretty good. It's pretty cool to see us getting exposure on places like Bloomberg Live. Always makes me very excited for this project. And it's awesome to see our team members shining like that. All right, so that's it for. Oh, and actually, there's also 2 new hires that we did this week, but actually have a couple of guests on the call who are new hires from previous weeks. But this week's new hires, we hired a guy named Christopher F, who's joining the back end services team in Sweden, and we hired another Andy, who's a dev who's going to be joining also the back end services team. He will be based out of New York. So there will be 2 Andys in New York. Our CTO, Andy Millennius, and this is Andy. Hopefully they don't fight each other. Although he did. All right, so what's next? I guess I could run through some of the highlights in the community. And also I guess some more announcements. MakerDAO's DAI stablecoin and MKR are live on WanChain. So WanChain, they have like a cross blockchain like bridge solution, and they're really cool. They're trying to make Bitcoin interoperable with Ethereum, and some of the stuff that they're coming out with is really cool. Really curious about the security side of and like some of their vulnerabilities, because I haven't had enough time to really dig deep into LandChain. That's pretty cool. Next, we have you could buy gift cards with DAI by a company called Vidali. They're also a merchant platform, so I think they're going to be enabling DAI payments eventually. But at the moment, you could buy a variety of gift cards with DAI and send them to your friends. So yet another good place to spend your DAI if you're interested in doing so. Maker and DAI were also listed on KuCoin, and there was a trading competition for MKR, which was, as noted in the chat, super gray area of like doing things, because I think it inadvertently pumped the Maker price up on KuCoin, and it was like messing with the entire market because of this trading competition. But that's neither here nor there. We got mentioned in a presentation that was done about a month ago at the A16Z Crypto Summit. It's called Crypto, the Future of Trust. Really solid video. I forget the guy's name. I have him on Twitter, but he is the man, and he's very ridiculous. I highly suggest you guys watch this video. Uh, let's see what else. David Hoffman wrote yet another article called MakerDAO, the Decentralized Global Reserve Bank. Solid short article, nice read. Maker also came out with another guest article called Stablecoins Collateralization Types. Uh, just another one in the series about general stablecoins. And then Trust Nodes actually came out with the rise of decentralized finance, an article that mentioned to us that was really really positive note from them. Trust Notes has written a lot about us, and we like them a lot. And also Instadap, they got some way who we had as a guest a couple of weeks ago to demonstrate his new CDP portal. He actually posted some stats on Reddit on the usage of this new CDP portal, and apparently 24 CDPs have been open through his UI, 174 interactions, and it accounts for about 9,394 DAI worth of debt and something shy of 260 ETH collateral. It's really cool. A lot of a bit of activity there, which is really really nice. It's always great to see third-party UIs popping up, and it makes me excited because we're all about decentralization. And the less centralized points of failure we have, like a website and a UI, the better, because the more access people have to these things, the less likely they're going to get stuck not being able to access their funds, or et cetera, et cetera. So let's see. That's pretty much. Oh, also BitUSD globally settled. That's kind of like a side point. So for just as a bit of a history lesson, MakerDAO actually stems from the BitShares community. Rune and Nikolai and many of the founders were initially part of the BitShares community, and they moved on to Ethereum when Ethereum came out to produce Maker. But BitShares was very much like a similar idea, and BitShares recently globally settled. So there's a lot of talk around the town about that. So definitely look into that if you're curious what global settlement looks like in BitShares. It's a little bit different than how it works with MakerDAO, although not completely, but it is a little different. So yeah. All right, cool. So I'm gonna spend the next maybe 5-10 minutes introducing our two guests. Actually, before I do that, sorry, completely forgot. I wanted to do a quick recap of some of the events that have been going on in the MakerDAO universe. Lenka, do you have any insight into the events that have been going on? I know ETH Singapore just passed, right?
Yes, basically it's pretty quiet in Europe right now. I don't have many events. I think everyone's kind of finishing off before the holidays. I just wanted to add like one more thing that if you guys know Switcheo exchange, then they have currently a poll open to vote for which currencies to include. So I can throw in the link if you want to vote for DAI to be included on Switcheo. But not much from me.
Nice, nice. Okay. And Mariana, do you have anything going on in the South Americas?
Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, we have a pretty awesome event last week with Ripio, with Decentraland, with Nomics, and we are Civis, another company here, blockchain development in Argentina, in which we are to talk about Ethereum Smart Contract 101. We have our awesome Mariano Conti explaining a bit what is a smart contract for the developers community that want to join, right, the Ethereum development movement. It was a really cool meetup, and probably we'll start doing two kinds of meetup for the next year. Some will be like very technical ones, starting to go deeper and deeper into smart contract development and Ethereum, and you know how all these things work. And on the other hand, we will have meetups and workshops related to MakerDAO for CDP creations. What is DAI? Why DAI keeps its peg to $1 and that kind of things. I guess that we are seeing right now like um, these two kinds of publics, right? One's very technical, that is a lot into smart contract development, and they are eager to know a lot more about this. And then we have this user public that wants to know like the monetary aspect of that, right?
Mhm. Yeah, that's cool. How many people usually show up to like each of these types of meetups? Is there like a big discrepancy in numbers, like for like the more general educational meetups versus the more technical, hardcore ones?
One of the things that really amazed me is that this last meetup was a pretty technical one, right? And it was made. It was past Thursday. It was like raining a lot here in Buenos Aires, and we had like 50 to 70 people in the
Oh
room.
wow, that's a lot. That's
Yeah, that's a lot of people for a, I would say that's a lot of people for a extremely technical talk, right? It was a discussion panel around smart contract development, and there were a lot of well, developers, right?
Mhm.
But also not so technical people that they asked like pretty cool questions, right? Uh, and
Nice.
yeah, we were surprised about that. So one of the things that we were talking with the audience there is that start to developing these kind of two roads uh, for meetups, for users, and for smart contract development.
Yeah. Where do you guys usually like promote the meetup or like advertise for it, or is it like word of mouth through like Telegram groups, or like what's like the primary way people find out about your
Now,
meetups?
the primary way is obviously meetup.com, but we did
Mhm.
a pretty good job with this Argentinian cartel with Ripio, Civis, MakerDAO,
Yeah.
what else, Decentralands. Well, there's a lot of companies here, and we've been leveraging our contacts, and we had a very good amount of people in.
Very cool. Sounds like things are thriving. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Very awesome. Very awesome.
that's it. That's it for my side.
Cool. Cool. So just do you have any insights into other MakerDAO events, things that
So,
that might be coming up?
yeah, so I had the immense privilege to be at ETH Singapore and witness all the phenomenal things that happened there. We kicked that with one of our little dappy hours at a nice Singapore bar called Alchemy. And then from there, actually, it was at the Dappy Hour that the winning team of ETH Singapore, out of the sort of 6 overall finalists, conceived of their idea. That team's name was Diley. And so the Diley team realized that it would be much more intuitive if at the Dappy Hour we could give people Dai and they could use the Dai to pay their gas fees as opposed to needing Ether to pay their gas fees, especially for new users. So they created a way for people to basically use Etherless gas payment. So essentially, the team abstracted away the need for a secondary Ether balance within the wallets, giving people the ability to just use mobile wallets and send their DAI as a way to pay for gas as well, and then delegate another address that did have Ether. In most cases, it would probably be us if we're putting on the Dappy Hour to then pay those transaction fees on their behalf.
Oh,
So it was
nice.
awesome. The team started creating this cool idea that would be super useful for us at one of our little happy hour events just before the real hackathon kicked off. And then they ended up winning for us and for the overall event. Vitalik gave a little bit of a maker overview and a shout out during his fireside chat, which was awesome. Sean gave 2 super informative talks, including an overview of what's to come with multi-collateral DAI and how that works. And in terms of other prizes that we saw, the other ones were almost equally as amazing. There was a project called Weasel that gave new meaning to our phrase, I'm not stable, but my DAI is, in which basically enabled people to convert their ETH into DAI within their status wallet using an extension and then send that DAI to a contact in their status wallet that they were chatting with. So sort of a nice integration of us and status. There was a couple projects using ZK snarks, which is cool. One was called Plasma Winter, which created a ZK snark governed plasma with a count model, which had very low transaction fees and a high number of transactions per second, and only one verification block needed due to their ZK proofs. And then we were also very impressed with another team using the ZK idea, and they were called ZK Die, which enabled any ERC20 token to be converted to a secret value note. And then when users would come to their ZK Die dApp, they'd have the option to swap those tokens using Kyber into DAI and send it into a smart contract, which converted it into the secret note, making the things confidential and the note's value secret and anonymous. And then they could just be transferred back and withdrawn into DAI, which was cool. But overall, it was awesome. We had a lot of awesome projects and good talks, and it was great meeting our champions, Jocelyn and Xiao, over there. Yeah.
Very cool, very cool. That's awesome. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. East Singapore, it sounds like so much stuff is being built. I'm so ecstatic about that. When I heard about the ZK DAI idea and the fact that it's like applicable to like any other ERC20 token, I thought it was like too good to be true. I was like, what? There's no way that this exists right now. But I can't wait till they do some further like development on it and like make it more bulletproof and make it more security, like just more secure. So I am skeptical about using like brand new pieces of code and experimenting with like real money.
Yeah, that was super. We should maybe we should feature them on or some of those teams.
Yeah.
Maybe even all of them on this call.
Yeah.
And then also if any of those people I was reading about, it could be a good idea that I put them in touch with you too, you and Rich.
Definitely. We're always looking for both for guests on this call and also for Kenny Rogers wrote ZK setups are pretty tricky. Yeah, they're particularly tricky. Yeah, I can't imagine being like a non-developer myself. I don't even know the complexity that goes into it, but I can imagine it's probably as well. But yeah, we're always looking for guests to come on the show. Recently we had like the guys from Gilded, and we had some Y come and show us CD World, and like yeah, anytime you have anybody, definitely send them my way.
Yeah.
No doubt. Cool. Thanks for the update. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you guys two of our recent hires. So Nikolai Lolikier is a technical account manager. I think he is based out of Sweden. Is that right, Nikolai? Are you there?
Copenhagen. So
Copenhagen, yes.
Pretty close.
Almost had it. Yeah, almost had it. So what is your role? What are you doing at Maker?
So I have joined Maker as a technical account manager, and that means that I'm part of the integrations engineering team. Mm-hmm. And I joined just 2 weeks ago, so I'm still learning the ropes. But basically, my role is to help the business partners of Maker to integrate and use the Maker system by providing technical support and answering questions, and in general being this technical contact person within the organization who sort of picks up the mails and threads that come inbound. So nice. Maker provides these amazing tools, and my job is to ensure that our partners know how to use them and know how to integrate with them.
So what's like your background? Like, what were you doing before you joined us at Maker?
So I have a background in computer science. I have a bachelor in software development, and then I did a master in e-business. So I have sort of this both a bit of computer science and business administration. And I think that's a pretty good profile to have in this kind of job, because I also sort of have to understand sort of the business logic and the business models of our partners, and how they can leverage the Maker systems in their business. And then we come to sort of the more technical part of the job, is then to ensure like how can we integrate it more on the technical side as well. So I used to work in a financial company here in Denmark, where I've been working on a lot of blockchain stuff as well, but more traditional companies, they don't move as fast as I would like them to. So I got in contact with Maker, and I was really stoked to be offered an opportunity to join. So here I am.
That's awesome. We're very glad to have you, Nikolai.
Yeah.
You sound like the man for the job.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So you're like a mix between actual technical integrations and like business development. So
yeah,
nice.
and that's also like the funnel that these partners come in. So we have an amazing business development team who has like, we have a lot of partners, and we kind of distinct between soft and hard integrations. So if it's a soft integration, often they do not require a lot of support. So these are often like cryptocurrency exchanges who, for example, already are listing ERC-20 tokens and stuff like that. So they are familiar with Ethereum and the crypto space. So often we just need to send them like token contracts and things like that. But as Maker is scaling, and probably also when multi-collateral DAIs launch, we expect at least to have more what we call hard integrations, which is TradeShift is a case of that, where we have a more traditional kind of company that might not be like based in crypto. So they might need some educating in like the basic stuff of what is Ethereum and what is blockchain, and the integrations team will actually also help create custom libraries to ensure that they can sort of bridge their more traditional systems to the Maker systems. So we are sort of and so back to the point, we are sort of this gap where we take the business development talk into the more technical area. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's fascinating, man. Thank you for that deep description. That definitely was tickled my ears for sure. I love that. Love that.
Cool.
So next in line, we got our new head of I think it's head of integrations, right? Lassie Berkholz. Lassie, you there?
Hello, everyone.
So Lassie,
I was just thinking, based on what Nikolai said, that I guess integration is sort of, if Greg, head of business development, and Andy, CTO, if they had a baby, the result would be us.
That's something like what I was thinking.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome. So Lassie, so you guys basically came on at almost the same time. So Lassie, what's your role in the integrations team? You're a lot more on the actual integrations, like on the tech side, whereas like Nikolai is slightly more on like the business development side, or like how would you guys describe your roles?
So my primary goal is to coordinate between our integration team, where Nikolai is one of our members, and we have 4 more, and then coordinate between business development and external partners that sign up, and our product team. So and to make sure that partners that integrate, they always have what they need. So it's really me that makes sure that this effort is coordinated and that all teams know what is going on.
Nice, man, nice. So what's some of your background? What have you been up to in the last, before you joined us?
Yeah, I've been in the cryptocurrency space a few years. A friend told me about Bitcoin in 2011, and I discovered it was just a big hassle to buy and sell Bitcoin. So in 2012, I started Bitcoin Nordic, which was one of the first European Bitcoin brokers. Then I thought, let's try to use this crazy digital currency thing for remittances. So I moved to the Philippines for 1 year, and in 2013, and started the first Bitcoin exchange there. And then some other people acquired it and they still run it, but I moved back to Denmark to merge my Danish Bitcoin broker together with another company, and that was then the start of Coinify in 2014. So I was a co-founder there, still am, and I was chief product officer of Coinify from 2014 until 2017. So last year I decided to take a step back and take a break from being an entrepreneur 24/7. So I took a break for about a year, and then I think in the beginning of this year I became really interested in stable coins, and I started researching the different projects, and I ended up concluding that Maker is just the most fascinating and interesting project in the whole blockchain space at all. And so I thought, I wonder if there's a way for me to join the project, and I'm very happy to be here now.
Lassie, we're really excited to have you, man. You sound like quite the guy. That's awesome. You're the co-founder of Coinify, huh? That's pretty sick. That's pretty sick, man. We're really glad to have you. Glad to give you a bit of a break from the entrepreneurial life. Yeah, actually, my buddy Andrew is in the call. Me and him were ruminating about how the space, what would the space look like during this market downturn if Maker was not around, right? What would we look to? It's like Augur, and like that's about it, right?
Yeah.
The Lightning Network is coming.
Lightning Network, yeah.
Something else. I don't even know. Segwit out. Something really mundane.
Yeah, Maker certainly is propping up the whole blockchain space, but it's also my favorite project by a long shot. And thank you guys for joining the call. I love having new hires come on and introduce themselves to the community and get a chance. If anybody has any questions for Lassie and Nikolai, feel free to write it in the chat. I'm sure they'd be glad to talk to you guys. And while you guys do that, if anybody does have any questions, I want to ask Mariano. Mariano, do we have a burning question this week?
Hello? No, I don't have any burning question this week,
No?
Mr. David.
All right. I think I might have a burning question. So I noticed a few threads on Reddit talking about the voting process for Maker. And I wanted to, maybe get a sort of very small sample, like if you guys have any comments or any feedback on the Maker voting process and like what you found difficult about it, definitely voice it. Now I'd love to hear feedback on it, but a lot of people were having trouble with the whole process of linking cold wallets, hot wallets, and proxy, and like they were finding the whole process very cumbersome. A small update from Lenka. Alex, I'll give you the answer to that in a second. But so the Happy Holidays thing that I mentioned earlier, we actually have winners for all 5 care packages that we were putting forth. So I believe that Happy Holidays are over, but not for those 5 people. I think those 5 people will be very happy with their care packages. I'm excited to see what was in them. So I'm going to try to go next year. But Alex, so the end time for the vote, there isn't really an end time for the vote because of how the voting construct works for executive proposals. So for an executive vote, I mentioned earlier, but it functions through this thing called continuous approval voting. And so what it means is whatever proposal is in the voting construct that has the most amount of Maker basically represents the current status of the system, so the current state of the system. And so for a new proposal to basically replace the old state of the system, it has to have more Maker in it than that older proposal. So once that happens, I think there's a 24-hour sort of security delay where you have to have more Maker in it than the previous proposal, 24 hours consistently, and then the proposal passes through and updates the state of the system. But if that never occurs, so if there's never a point at which there's more Maker in the new proposal than the old one, then nothing happens, and the proposal stays active in the voting construct sort of forever. And then like it can be superseded by other proposals. So let's say the 0.5% decrease never passes. I believe like maybe in a week or two, there might be a proposal for 1% instead of 0.5%, right? And maybe that proposal might be more attractive, and people will basically vote for it and outweigh the 2.5% decrease proposal that is currently the winner of the system. So I hope that answers the question a little bit, but yeah. Cool. So if anybody has any, Kiva has a question. Cool. So Lassie, I think this question is for you. Kiva, if you have a mic, definitely hop on and just ask a question.
Okay, so I'm wondering if anyone here has worked on the TradeShift integration, and if so, I wanted to know if there's a concern that there isn't enough market cap of DAI to satisfy their demand for it, because they're processing like billions of dollars every day. So I'm wondering how they can integrate DAI if the market cap might not be big enough. And my other question was like, do you anticipate that, because I'm aware that TradeShift will be using DAI, but they'll also be using CDPs for margin trading. So I'm wondering like if you think they'll be holding more DAI or more CDPs.
Yeah, so both Nikolai and myself, we joined the team 2 weeks ago, so we haven't been working a lot on TradeShift. Yeah, I definitely think since TradeShift is transacting, I think $500 billion a year in payment volume, I think the current DAI market cap would not be sufficient for that. So I think the full potential will not be realized until multi-collateral DAI is launched. And then can you repeat your second question?
So my second question is, basically, I'm aware that they'll be using DAI as a settlement layer, so they'll be holding some DAI. But I'm also aware that they'll be having CDPs for margin trading. So people will be able to invest in companies based on their receivables, and then leverage that through an ABS to invest in more companies based on their receivables, so CDPs. So I'm wondering like what you see the ratio between the CDPs and the DAI. Do you think they'll be holding a lot of DAI and very few CDPs, or a little bit of DAI and a lot of CDPs?
That's a good question, which I haven't thought about. Maybe someone else from the team has.
So my thoughts on like the TradeShift on
sorry. I don't think that we are at a space where we know that yet. I think that's that's some of the stuff that we are also trying to figure out. So I mean, yeah, as you said, also to the first question, like there's definitely not enough DAI in circulation, and that's also why we are also really looking forward to multi-collateral DAI to be launched, and for TradeShift to provide invoices as collateral. But the specifics, I don't think has been worked out yet.
Yeah, I think TradeShift, not only are they going to be providing like a really new collateral type, but which will increase like the DAI supply. But I think that the primary way that they're going to be using CDPs is to actually offer financing for their clients who have their own like accounts payable, accounts receivable, or whatever. I think that basically they're going to offer basically ways to finance debt for their clients. They're going to be using CDPs as leverage.
I think that's actually not the case because you can only take out a CDP for a small fraction of an asset's value. So if a company has receivables, they can only finance for a very small percentage of that receivable. But it's different for the case of ABSs because there will be more liquid because there will be higher market caps, and it will be more advantageous for a small percentage of investors to package those into a CDP because they might be able to package their entire position into one. Whereas for a company who wants to finance based on their receivables, they can only get like 5% of the value, so it's less worth it for them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, possibly. I'm kind of out of my depth here. I'm gonna leave it to future updates, and when the guys have more information on how that's all gonna work, I'm definitely excited to see exactly the business model and like how TradeShift is gonna be utilizing CDPs and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah. All right. If anybody has any additional questions, go right ahead. I think we're about 15 minutes to the hour, so I'm going to leave it open for another few minutes, but otherwise, I've gone through all of the stuff on my agenda. We introduced our two of our newest hires from the integrations team. I'll also take this opportunity to mention that we have another community meeting that we do on Thursdays called the Governance and Risk meeting, and it's headed by our head of risk and COO, Stephen Becker, who is quite an awesome guy, really wonderfully educated in financial risk management. So if you guys are curious about governance and risk, definitely join us Thursdays. The call's at the same time, 12 p.m. EST. And then, see, I'm biased. I'm from New York, so I go EST. But I have to remind myself what the other ones are. Yeah, 9 a.m. PST and then 5 p.m. UTC. So wherever you are in the world, it's pretty much the same time slot as this, just Thursdays. But other than that, I think we covered just about everything. Yeah, I think I'm going to conclude the meeting, guys. Thank you guys for coming. This was wonderful, as usual. Definitely come on next week. When moon, bro? I don't know, man. I hope the moon comes, takes its time, you know? I'm in no hurry for it to me. I'm happy about how we've been progressing, right?
Good job. Thanks, David.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming. Appreciate you all.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you guys. Take care.